Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today during her first official visit to India. The three-day visit is expected to further strengthen the India-Japan special, strategic and global partnership. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended a warm welcome to his Japanese counterpart upon her arrival on Wednesday. In social media post, Prime Minister Modi said India is delighted to host Takaichi and that he is looking forward to wide-ranging discussions that will further deepen the India-Japan special, strategic and global partnership. Prime Minister Modi also emphasized the broader significance of the partnership, adding that India and Japan will continue working together to advance peace, stability and prosperity across the Indo-Pacific and beyond. Now, Prime Minister Takaichi, she will be receiving a ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan later in the day, followed by meeting and discussions with Prime Minister Modi at Hyderabad House. During her stay, she will participate in the 16th India-Japan Annual Summit. At the summit, the two leaders are expected to review the full spectrum of bilateral ties and exchange views on key regional and global developments. Shortly after landing in New Delhi, Takaichi outlined the key priorities for her discussions with the Indian leadership. In a post on X, she said the talks would focus on urgent issues, including economic security and energy security, while aiming to deepen the strategic partnership between the two countries in light of the evolving global situation. She also highlighted the importance of promoting mutually complementary cooperation and further strengthening the Japan-India special strategic global partnership. Well, to talk about Japan, it is India's fifth largest investor, cumulative FDI at $48 billion, with a 10 trillion yen private investment target set for the next decade. Around 1,500 Japanese firms operate in India. To talk more about this, we are now being joined by Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, a former Indian diplomat with 37 years of experience. Ambassador Singh formerly served as Indian ambassador to ASEAN and also as diplomat in Japan. Welcome to the broadcast, Ambassador Singh. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Now, before we zoom out, let's zoom out before we zoom in. We know that the Quad's relevance has been questioned amid America's shifting priorities, yet we're suddenly seeing momentum again. Is this summit also about proving that the Quad still has muscle?
Thank you. I think the summit is showing that the Indo-Pacific has relevance. And for the Indo-Pacific, Quad is a process or an instrument. So whatever any Quad partner may think, the India-Japan decision to uphold the two ends of the Indo-Pacific, I think is clear, and this meeting is going to reiterate that. So more than the Quad, I think it is the Indo-Pacific which will be in focus, because Quad is the Indo-Pacific policy of 4 countries, and each of them cannot determine what the other would do. But yes, Japan and India, I think, will come out with clear guidelines on how we are going to develop the Indo-Pacific and prevent a challenge of dominating powers emanating here.
Ambassador, as you rightly said, this is only half part of the story. Japan has consistently pushed India to join RCEP in the Indo-Pacific, but New Delhi has held its ground. So is India's position beginning to evolve, or do you think that door is still firmly shut?
I think when RCEP is concerned, their door is open. It is India which does not want to move, mainly because of the China factor. But I believe that there are alternatives like the Comprehensive Pacific TPP. So that CPTPP with Japan is there. And there's no US or China in it, though it's a more high-end trade arrangement. I think India should look at that in a strategic way to engage with the CPTPP and ask for longer-term association. That, I think, the essential message of economic security and resilient supply chains, which is likely to come out from today's summit, I think that would be well served if India was to look at the CPTPP positively.
Indeed, Ambassador, as you speak of the China factor, it often remains the elephant in the room. India and Japan both speak of an Asian century, while China's shadow looms large. What's Beijing likely reading between the lines of this summit?
So Beijing is always anxious about what others do. When we talk of an Asian century, the Chinese believe that it is a Chinese century, which we don't agree with. Our concept of an Asian century, like that of the Indo-Pacific, is a more inclusive concept. So the Chinese will watch whether India and Japan are going to come up with tactics to counter China clearly. They see the Quad as one such tactic. But the functional agenda that India and Japan pursue, I don't think they can be an exception to be taken by China. But yes, the strategic aspects, which I also believe will see a evolution in this summit, they could certainly attract Chinese attention.
And all of that, Ambassador, it plays out in the Northeast India, Japan-India ties. Japan has invested heavily in India's Northeast through the Act East Forum. Is the Northeast now India's biggest strategic gateway to the Indo-Pacific and ASEAN? What do you think?
It can be if the Indian and Japanese efforts together succeed. Yes, certainly the Northeast will gain because it will become economically active, much more active internationally than it is now. And secondly, if the earlier efforts to have Bangladesh ports play a role in this process, then this becomes the direct access into the Bay of Bengal. There is also the Kaladan multimodal project with Myanmar, which somehow has not been completed. So these are all connectivity problems which will come. But I think the first step is to get the Japanese to invest and put ODA into the Northeast to raise their economic profile. And that would really help Indian Northeast very much.
Let's also talk about this summit, which is in prime focus at the moment, Ambassador. Prime Minister Takaichi has arrived with a 10 trillion yen investment roadmap, and Japan's biggest business names are here as well. As someone who's worked closely with Japan, what would make this summit a real success?
I think the actualization of the promise of investing 10 trillion yen by 2030 is what we are looking at. Many Japanese companies have got plans, and many Japanese companies have turned profitable. They are apprehensive of China in China. They are apprehensive of the Chinese aggressive intent in the economies of ASEAN countries. So more Japanese companies look at India more positively. The established companies are expanding rapidly. The new companies need more encouragement. So I hope that this summit will give that encouragement to Japanese companies not already here to come in and join the India-Japan strategic and global partnership.
That encouragement you speak of, Ambassador, it will rightly be established by the leadership equation as well. We know that Modi and Shinzo Abe share an exceptional personal equation. Takaichi, she brings a different style. Does chemistry still drive this partnership?
I think it does. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Takaichi have met at least once or twice before at international summits since she took over. And she has taken an early opportunity to make a standalone visit to India, despite her tight schedule. So I think there is a personal chemistry, but it is not the same chemistry like, say, Prime Minister has with Macron or with some others. But I think give it time. Like with Abe's Susho had a long, tenure, which allowed such a partnership to develop. But subsequent prime ministers have had shorter tenures, which does not give you enough time to develop that. So here's to hoping that Prime Minister Takaichi will have a long term as a Japanese prime minister, which will hold India in good stead and allow a Modi-Takaichi relationship to develop.
One final thought, Ambassador. This looks all optimistic. You've seen this relationship evolve over decades. From your days in Japan, any special moment that you remember that best capture why India and Japan simply work?
You know, when I was in Japan, we used to dream of the day then the India-Japan relationship will look like this. And I remember trying to get a former foreign minister to chair the India-Japan Association. Used to be a great diplomatic task. And now the India-Japan Association is habitually chaired by a former Prime Minister of Japan. That is how much the relationship has evolved. So I think it has been a game-changing time, and we look forward to India and Japan holding up the Indo-Pacific for the best interests of all countries in the region.
Indeed, Ambassador, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you on Indo-Pacific region as well as the India-Japan ties. Thank you for making time and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.